What's up, guys? How's it going?
Bye week. Did you celebrate your birthday?
Oh man, I was at Legoland for a day and took my son there with my wife, and then we went to Sarasota for a day and a half. My wife and I to get away a little bit and just get a little R&R for a few days. So it was a good break. Eager to get back though.
When you have plenty of injuries, just the prospect of Mike coming back, how that changes things, how teams play you, more predictability, like what?
Yeah. Hopefully, we still, we just don't know what his true availability will be if he is, and obviously we'll gain some attention from the defense and understand maybe we get played a little bit similar to how people were playing us when he was going. So it's something we just need to be ready for, have a plan for. Love him if he's in there, and obviously we want to be able to get him going. That would be fantastic, but the guys are also ready to go if not.
Your ground game is one of the things that's really been going for you all year long. You started off in the OTA period, emphasizing the run when I think maybe a lot of teams view that as flag football.
Right.
To do the passing game because there is no contact.
Right.
But how were you guys able to use that time back in the OTAs without the physicality to get the game going?
Yeah, I think we were just trying to really emphasize as much as we could fundamentals, technique, and maybe a little bit more of the why. Because you couldn't, as you mentioned, practice at full speed. Obviously, the physicality part of it is non-existent, but we're still trying to develop every time we would run the ball a why, an understanding of what we're trying to do. Okay, this is versus these kind of defenses. We like these runs versus maybe a different type of structure. As you're trying to get these guys as many reps as possible, we put a lot on their plate from early on. And that was with multiple plays in the huddle, okay, getting to the right looks, running the football is a mindset and mentality, and it had to start right when we first started. And the guys were pretty bought in from the beginning.
You bring up an interesting point, the why. Sean McVay is one of the best to ever do it, and I know that you've studied under a number of coaches, but I mean, how much is that emphasized when you were working with McVay?
That's right.
The why.
The why. I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. When I first got hired by the Rams and I sat in a few early self-scout meetings, we were talking about our self-scout and how to make things better, but there was so much defensive talk in those meetings about Sean explaining why some of these runs are good against some of these different looks, how defenses respond to jet motion, fly motion, wide trade motion, different coaching points, but it was more focused on the defensive side of the ball, and that helped us transition here where when we're not going in a physical setting, but we can really dial into the why and understanding, okay, what do we like this against? That's where I really kind of learned the most was from Sean in that aspect.
And do you think that's why so many of his assistants have gone on to have so much success, is because they understand that why?
I think that's probably a good point. I think there's probably some validity to that in terms of, there's a lot of detail that goes into the system, I would say. There's not a ton of just, okay, let's go out and backyard it. I mean, maybe we'd like to maybe have some more of that. And there's a lot of detail that goes into each and every play, all 11 being on the same page. What is each position group's contribution to the run game and understanding how important those things are? Like I said before, the guys were really bought into that at an early point when we got here.
What challenges does the Giants' defense bring?
Yeah, a number of them. I mean, we've got one of the best football players on defense in the National Football League up front. They've got multiple pass rushers that can affect the quarterback. They're, I think, first in the NFL in sacks right now. They're sixth in third down defense. They've affected the quarterback. Everyone that they've basically played, they've affected. They've got a young group of guys out there that seem to have some juice. They're at home on a fast track on that turf is when you can really see those guys playing at a speed there that nobody's really been able to truly handle. I mean, the wins and losses, it's a different deal. If we're just talking about that side of ball and what they've been able to do and affect offenses has been impressive. I got a ton of respect for those guys over there and what they've been doing, how they're playing the game. You can see it's being taught and coached the right way. It's detailed. It's fundamental. It's going to be a great challenge for us.
alluded to Dexter Lawrence there.
Yeah.
On the interior.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's already got 9 sacks from that part of the defensive line.
Right.
Without giving away too much, obviously, how difficult is it to face an interior defensive lineman who's that disruptive? You faced Chris Jones.
That's right.
This year, and what can you do to kind of help
Yeah.
mitigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more just we have to be aware of him on every play. Run, pass, whatever it is, we have got to have a plan for 97. And as you mentioned, it's a little different because he's a shade. And the center ultimately has to deal with him one way or another every play. So this is going to be a huge challenge for Graham and for our interior line. But, also they have, some guys on the edge that can rush the passer, so you can't sit there and say we have to just worry about 97. That's not the way this thing's going to be able to go. So, I have a ton of respect for Dexter Lawrence and the player that he is, and it's going to be a huge challenge for us. I can't really say exactly what the plan is, but we have got to be aware of him on every single play.
It's tough to be a swing tackle in this league and have to be able to play left tackle and right tackle.
Mhm.
And how much does having those games under School's belt from early in the season when he was replacing Luke help him now?
Yeah.
Maybe having to go a game or so for
I think it's definitely helped him. I mean, you do see Schooley having more and more confidence as we go. And he had to jump in there last week, and a couple weeks ago, we go out and you go play and you go let it rip. And we've won games with him, obviously, in there. We've played some good football with him in there. He's a smart football player who understands leverage and how to use his hands and how to be able to use his athletic ability to his advantage. So that's just something we're gonna have to go throughout the game and see how it goes.
Liam, you mentioned that the Giants defense has plenty of guys, young guys with juice.
Yeah.
One of those being Drew Phillips, who
Yeah.
you had the chance to see at Kentucky.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well in coverage this year.
Yeah.
How can he affect?
Drew's a savvy, smart football player that's obviously still learning the NFL game as a rookie. Very quick twitch, good movement skills, good change of direction. He's really good against screens, identifying them and trying to blow up some bubble screens and other types of screens on the perimeter. Smart football player that I do believe his best football is ahead of him. I look forward to seeing him.
When you looked at, you do the sub-scouting, I would assume
Yeah.
during the bye week, your running backs have been productive, obviously, but when you looked at the usage of them, what did you find? Do you like the way it's going right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. It's just hard to get kind of 3 guys, 8 to 10 touches each. I think we did walk away saying, okay, how do we make sure we leave each week saying that 44's touched the ball a few times, and that's something that we need to make sure that we do. And get him involved in the game earlier on, so that we can, if he is running well and getting some juice, he can keep going. But it's maybe tagging some things for him to just make sure that we can get him in and touching the ball.
I know one game you started the second half and he
Yeah,
was the back.
that's kind of what we have to be able to do. Is it's so hard to be able to say, okay, this guy on this play, now we're subbing in and out every play. We haven't been able to play with any tempo because we're changing personnels almost every play because we're trying to put holes in there and, we got to fix this one, we got to move this guy. And, the goal was going into this year to play an 11 personnel and be able to go. And now we've had to kind of go this way and that way to go to 12 and 21 different variations, which is great. It gets other people involved. But it also does make it harder on us to move those pieces around every play, and that gets to be, at times, exhausting.
You were talking about 12 personnel, and when Payne Durham was out, Devin Culp got a little bit of playing time there. How has he developed kind of behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think Devin's continuing to grow. I think there's some natural challenges you have to get through as a rookie in this league. There's a lot more volume, I think, as he's mentioned, coming from a spread, no huddle system where you're just looking to the sideline for signals, and now you have to get in the huddle and hear multiple plays called and still be able to go execute and, by the way, go run the right route and catch the ball and make a play with it. So I think some of those things that he's continuing to grow with and learn, he needs to continue to get better on special teams to be impactful that way. But I do believe he'll continue to get better and hopefully be able to use him at some point.
Your receivers that have had to step in, all of them have done some nice things
Yeah.
at times, but do you need, even with Mike coming back, who's going to be that,
Yeah.
it's a combination of guys, but who's going to be consistent?
Mhm.
Baker missed Sterling a little bit.
Mhm.
you need that guy or guys to really identify and say, we're going,
I think it's collaborative, but yeah, I mean, I think the Sheps of the world, the J-Max of the world, the Trey Palmers and those guys and Rocks of the world, like, we need them to be open, as much as possible. And that's the one thing that maybe showed up a little bit last week was, we just got to win. And in the timing and rhythm of, we have a backup tackle in and we're having a chip and we have to get the ball down the field. But when the ball needs to come out in the timing and rhythm of the play, we need them open in that timing and rhythm of the play. And so those are some of the things that did kind of occur in that San Fran game. When we needed the ball out, maybe we couldn't truly get it out at times. And that's also on us, too, in helping put them in a position to get open and move them around a little bit as well.
Chris Godwin was kind of operating in that Cooper Cup type role early on in the season. With him being out now and Mike returning, should we expect a different type of role from him later in the season versus earlier on when he was out?
Maybe a little. I mean, it's just going to be hard to tell with Mike right now is in terms of, like, how much is he going to be able to go if he can go? I don't know. And how much do you want to send him all the way down the field on a long route or something because we're trying to be smart. We want to keep him going now if we get him back. So I don't know if it'll fully change. It helps us, that's for sure. I know that. So I don't know. That's a good question in terms of being able to move him around a little bit more. I think that's something that we've got to do a nice job of as a staff is, okay, is he just out at 1 all the time or is he in the slot? Is he at 2? Is he at 3? Being able to move him like we were moving those guys around earlier in the year, that could definitely help us.
During the self-scouting process when you guys were going through some of your own stuff last week, without giving any game plan stuff away, was there any enlightening things that you guys going to discover as a staff about what you have done or what you want to do, and just anything you could share?
It was more just evaluating, okay, we come into the season as an 11 personnel team, but now with how we've kind of had to shift in ways where it was more just what pecking order of personnels do we want to play in. And that could shift as we go. We've been 11, 12, and 21 have been the 3 prominent personnel groupings. Now, does it stay in that order is what we really had to evaluate by our personnel. Where are we most effective? Where can we be more effective if we give it more opportunities? So that was really what we looked at. And then you look at really just the last game, in terms of your self-scout, well, we stunk on 3rd down and we didn't score touchdowns in the red zone. So that was kind of ultimately what it came down to, and we had been pretty good in those situations up until that point. All good? Thanks, guys.